I'm Laura Hart. I'm here with my friend and my colleague, Christian. How are you today, Christian?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I don't want to mispronounce your last name, but I want to pronounce it Nwigwe.
Wigwe.
Nwigwe. Okay.
Yep.
Christian and I have known each other through our work with public schools and through a series of networking groups. And I think he can tell us a lot about how we increase equity and access for underserved communities and how his organizations, plural, have done that. So I'm thrilled to have you on. For
No, I was going to say excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure, sure. For those of you joining us who have never been on or listened to our Heart to Heart, this is a weekly series that I do. I am the CEO and founder of RoboFund, a company that exists on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I think we're hearing a little bit of that in the background. And we help kids love to learn by making, building, creating, using digital technologies. Upcoming events for us that you all could participate in if you're interested. We have an open house on September 25th. And we have all of our programs starting next, the 19th, Monday the 19th. So all sorts of after schools. The other thing that we do a whole lot of is vacation days, and there are 6 of them coming up. So go to robofund.org if you are interested to learn more. And also check us out. If you like this, give us a like on Facebook. Those things make a big difference. So what we're here to talk about today is not RoboFund, but about Christian's amazing work. And I do this every week. I really love it. I've gotten to meet and learn so much. So what I'd like to start with is just tell me a little bit about yourself, Christian.
Sure. So I am an entrepreneur and educator. I have 2 main companies, Platinum Edge Tutoring and Creative Connections. Platinum Edge Tutoring I founded in 2016, so around 6 years ago. Platinum Edge does K through 12 individual subject tutoring, test prep, college admissions guidance, essay writing. We've actually added, some yoga and meditation, as well as some SEL and wellness practices as well.
That's great.
And Creative Connections is also in the college and career readiness space, as you already know. We also have a fair amount of, arts, music, dance, SEL in our Boys Connect and Girls Connect programs, as well as financial literacy and tons of workshops for parents as well. I also am, go ahead.
Well, both of your companies really hit both sides of a lot of spectrums.
Correct.
One, you're trying to help kids get into college with Platinum Edge, and 2, with Creative Connections, you're trying to provide a whole wealth of services, as well as helping parents understand the finances and helping kids understand the finances of going to college.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Thank you.
So how did you begin your work?
Yeah, I started out as a tutor. So I started out tutoring. Oh, were you going to say something?
Let's back up a little.
Sure.
I went ahead on my question. So you grew up, where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to college? How did that affect what you're doing?
Sure. So I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. I am Nigerian American. So that definitely influenced a lot, of my initial direction. For any of your audience members who know Nigerians, there are 4, career trajectories for Nigerians. So it's doctor, lawyer, engineer, or disgrace. I chose the latter.
Disgrace?
Disgrace. Yeah, you heard right. Yep. I chose the latter.
But anyway, you're still in touch with your parents at this stage in life.
Say it again.
Your parents will still talk to you.
Yeah, they're still yeah. Even though I'm a disgrace.
All right.
They're still gonna speak to me. But yeah, so I went to Yale undergrad.
Okay.
And how I was telling you a little bit earlier, how I kind of got to Yale. So I had a cousin who went to Yale. He was a senior when I was coming in as a freshman. So I had the opportunity to visit him when I was in high school. So
Mhm.
I think when I was a junior in high school, he was around a sophomore at Yale. So I
Mhm.
was able to visit him, sit in on some classes, meet some of his friends, even attend a couple parties.
Mhm.
Kind of, fell in love with the place, and it really dispelled a lot of the myths that I think students, especially the students that we work with in our communities, might have about, places like Harvard or Princeton or Yale and things of that
Mhm.
nature.
Mhm.
And I would say prior to visiting him and actually, being on campus and meeting the people, I might have had some of those, initial assumptions as well. But
Mhm.
visiting him and interacting, with the people really dispelled a lot of that and made it my, number one choice.
Cool.
Hmm.
And then you got accepted, and
Yeah, yeah. So it was one of many schools that I applied to. So managed to get in, and yeah, the rest is history.
so you studied economics, right?
We did.
And then as work study jobs, what? How did that affect where you are now?
Yeah. So while I was, being an econ major, on the side, I would always tutor folks. So I was doing tutoring, both one-on-one and in schools. I was working with this organization called MORI. It's an acronym. It stands for like Modified Reading Recovery Initiative.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, I think that is the acronym. I think I got it right. I was trying to remember. But yeah, they paid us to go into middle schools and elementary schools to work with the students in reading, literacy, comprehension, etc. Um, and yeah, I realized I really loved that work, and valued like, making an impact and just seeing the direct, results of the work that I was doing day to
Mhm.
day. And so when I graduated from college, I got a job doing something completely unrelated to education. But I still had people contacting me like, "Oh, can you tutor my um, child in X subject or Y subject or for the SATs coming up?" So
Right.
I clearly saw that there was this demand for this, and without me really even doing anything in the way of marketing or whatnot. So I figured. So my thought process was like, if there's this demand without me really focusing on it, what would happen if I actually did focus on it? So
Right.
that was the initial thought process behind starting Platinum Edge Tutoring.
Right. Right. So what I see in you, Christian, like me, is that there's sort of a double edged interest. You wanted to do good things for children, but you also like the idea of building a company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So on the one hand, it is the direct, tangible impact, seeing a child go from level 1 to 2 to 3 and beyond. And then the other aspect for me, really, with Platinum Edge, growing Platinum Edge, and then acquiring creative connections and also growing that, is really like having the chance to expand the team, hire, create a culture, even though we're all doing various things every day. Like the CSDs are in their community schools. We have the program managers.
Wait, wait. Our audience might not know what a CSD is. Maybe you
Sure.
could tell us more.
CSD is a community school director.
Okay. So who hires who? Tell us more about that.
Sure. So Creative Connections has a few community schools. Um,
What's a community school?
Good question. So a community school is really an equity strategy
Okay.
designed to care for the whole child. So the whole idea is that children bring their whole selves to school, and so this equity strategy is trying to care for the whole school. So there is the whole child, rather. So
Okay.
there
So
are
I
four
think it's
main.
somewhere about a quarter. I'm not sure. A
There
quarter.
what?
A quarter of the schools in New York City are called community schools.
Yeah, so it's a growing initiative.
Right.
I think we're somewhere around 400 plus at this
Right.
moment.
200
And
schools. So that's, yeah, about a quarter. And
yeah,
so schools elect to be a part of this, and they do get extra money to have wraparound services, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's based on four pillars. So collaborative leadership and practice, expanded learning time, wellness and integrated supports, and family and community engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So the CSD, which is hired by our organization, Creative Connections, or whoever the lead CBO is, their job is really to coordinate all these resources. So
So
they're
a principal is responsible for the day, and your organization, Creative Connections, is responsible for the wraparound services other than the academic piece during the day. Is that right?
kind of. So the CSD also has knowledge of what's going on in the day. Sometimes Creative Connections provides services during the day as well.
Mm-hmm.
We also, like the CSD has knowledge of all the different funding sources as well. So there could be like beacon programs, it could be any number of programs that might work in the daytime or the after school. So the CSD really coordinates all of those efforts.
So you hire CSDs, community school directors, to go into the schools to handle all of these wraparound services.
Correct.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. And
That's
so
quite
the
a big
CS,
job for one of those community school directors.
yeah, it is. It is a full-time job, more than full-time job. We really appreciate all the work that the CSDs do. They definitely do a lot. They're in school 5 days a week, from even before the school starts to after school, and then if the schools are doing weekend programs. So you really have to have a passion for this work, and we're really lucky that our CSDs do.
So you have primarily a remote team, is that right?
Yes, the team is in various locations, but
Mhm.
obviously the CSDs are on campus. They're
Right.
located on at the school campus Monday through Friday.
Yep.
Our program manager does work remote,
Hmm.
but she floats around different sites, doing, quality assurance, visiting, making sure everything is going smoothly, at our sites that are not community schools, especially. Um, yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I myself, I'm remote. My business partner, he's remote.
Hmm.
We have an operations manager who's also remote, and a program coordinator as well.
I see.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. So there's something amazing about you in that, as I described in my little blurb, that you're a serial entrepreneur. You're doing these two companies at the same time.
Yeah. I'm a budding serial entrepreneur. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I don't
Um,
want to get ahead of myself.
how do you manage that? How do you manage like having all of these different things?
Yeah. That is a really good question. One is the team. So really building the team and really training them to take on as much as possible.
Mhm.
So really empowering the program manager to make decisions, not having me and the other business partner as the bottleneck. For Creative Connections and Platinum Edge, we can't have every request coming through us. So
Right.
really empowering the program managers to be able to you know speak to this a principal or AP or whoever
Mhm.
it is that is the decision maker on a given program, having them be able to complete work orders and purchase orders and billing and all
Mhm.
of that stuff.
Yep.
They're really, so in both companies, the program managers really have a good idea of who the staff is, which staff is suited for what particular role. So
Mhm.
they're involved in matching, um, quality control, quality assurance, and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. In Platinum Edge Tutoring, I have kind of created a new position called like lead success coach. So I've
Mhm.
decided to call them success coaches in Platinum Edge as well.
Uh-huh.
So everyone is a success coach. But the lead success coaches also take a little bit more of that duty of whenever they have free time during the day, maybe they're also doing some quality assurance visits, keeping metrics and things of that nature as well.
Cool.
So it's really creating those systems.
So you're both an entrepreneur and an educator. And in your childhood, is there anything that kind of developed that you can think of now that, I mean, you're not nearly as old as I am, but that you think back and like, oh, that was a really important experience that made me want to be an educator or wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Um, so I would say in general, I would say what helped me throughout my, educational journey and getting to Yale, et cetera, actually was like my parents. My parents were really involved, especially my dad. I remember him like, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, sitting up with me at night, helping me with homework and things of that nature. Um, and I think that really helped me. Well, I know that really helped me a lot, in terms of like building that focus, building that discipline from an
Mhm,
early age. I
mhm,
do see differences. Well, I did see differences back then, and then upon reflecting, like as I was older, differences between me and like maybe some of my friends who might not have had that experience.
mhm,
Um, just in terms of like one grades at a base level, but like general organization and just goal orientation.
mhm.
So I would say that really, obviously parents definitely impacted me
Yeah.
growing up.
So you're often in underserved communities where those kids may not have what you had.
Yes, absolutely. And so with both organizations, it's really just showing them, one, that they can.
Mhm,
And part of that is just showing them, a face who looks like them, who has been in their shoes before, who
mhm,
has lived, grown up in certain circumstances, and made it out, and is at a point where they potentially might want to be.
mhm,
So a lot of our work is just exposure.
mhm.
So exposing them to as many different things. So I know we talked about like the test prep. So Platinum Edge really exposing them to exams like the SHSAT, which
So what is the SHSAT, and how might served communities and how might underserved communities approach that whole process?
sure. So SHSAT stands for Specialized High School Test. It's the test to get into some of the specialized high schools in New York City.
Okay, so there's, I don't know, 4 to 6 of, or 8, I don't know how many
I
there are.
believe there's 8, and then there's also LaGuardia as well.
Okay, which is directly across the street from my house. But
Nice.
anyway, so those 8 schools are like the jewel of the New York City public school system, right?
Something like that. But the key to them, I would say, is that the sole determinant for admission is this one exam, which is the specialized, high school test.
Mhm,
And so for someone who is in a community, like an underserved community that, might not have, certain resources, this test could really be a game changer for them. And so we want us, and me, my business partner, and organizations like us, we really want to, expose students and communities to these exams from as early as, let's say, the third grade. Because, yeah, so I know obviously testing is like a hot topic,
mhm.
um, but, there's always going to be some sort of mechanism for, to decide who gets in and who doesn't get into these
So yeah,
schools. So
some
whatever the
sort of
sort of
metric, and
yeah,
yeah, it's a hot
whatever the
topic,
metric
but
is, whatever the mechanism is, we want to make sure that our communities are exposed to whatever that metric is from as early as possible. So
mhm,
other communities are exposed to this exam and are preparing for this exam from as early as sixth grade, even fifth grade and earlier.
mhm,
Whereas the students that we typically serve, they're just hearing about it in eighth grade or just hearing about it in seventh grade, which is not nearly enough time. And then schools, they're rushing to figure out which service provider can provide this thing. And then we're scrapping together a program really last minute, and it doesn't benefit the people that it's supposed to benefit. So
so walk us through a school that would hire you, where you're saying, listen, we want some of these kids to have this opportunity. How do you approach it with the school for fourth,
yeah,
sixth, seventh?
so I could talk about, one of the schools that we work with, in District 19. They're a middle school,
Mhm,
and we've been doing SHSAT prep and PSAT prep with them, even though they're in middle school,
mhm,
for I think about 4 years now,
mhm.
under 21st Century.
Okay,
And
so our audience probably doesn't know what 21st century
yeah,
is.
21st Century is, a federal grant that lasts for 5 years.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And so this was under the previous round of 21st Century. So we were a vendor under one of these things called a lead CBO. Our lead CBO at that school was Good Shepherd Service. Um, and so, yeah, we were able to do SHSAT, PSAT prep, and routinely they were able to send, I would say, 4+ students to specialized high schools each year from that program. In some years, it was even as much as 8 to 10, which, interestingly enough, was more than double or triple the charter school that was above them because they were co-located in the same building.
Right.
And then in terms of like how we got engaged, it was kind of word of mouth. There wasn't any real hard selling as far as I can remember. In this in this industry, I would say, is more sort of what my experience has been. Here's what we offer. Here's what we've been able to achieve in the past. And do you want to give us a chance for year one?
Right.
And so he gave us a chance for year one. We did decently well. And so we renewed all the subsequent years.
Cool. Cool. So you must be pretty proud of those kids who leave that middle school and end up in these specialized high schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a hard question, but do you have any contact with any of the kids? Do you know how they're doing?
So we're working on our data management and all of that stuff. So like I said, I just started Platinum Edge 6 years ago. The first couple of years I was mainly running it as kind of a hobby, where I was like the tutor doing tutoring here and there. So I really started running it as a business, I would say 4 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
And so we're working on like building databases and tracking all the data and seeing how our students are doing after they graduate. Because as of right now, or as it's been, once they leave, they're gone, and we don't really have that much connection with them.
It's a tricky issue because they're children, and getting access to them, it's all tricky.
So we're working on it. We're working on seeing how we can do that. Definitely, it'll probably be easier for our high schools.
Right.
So when we do like SAT prep, which we're also trying to do from as early as the 9th grade, like I said, with the middle school, there was PSAT prep in the 8th grade. It'll probably be easier to track, 12th grade and then beyond.
Right. So let's say you're a parent listening to this and you really want your kid to be ready for the SAT exam. Can they buy services? I don't mean to sound so crass, but can they work with your company to get services?
Yeah, absolutely. They can feel free to contact us, info@platinumedgetutoring.com. We can set them up with a package, either one-on-one tutoring, which is the most effective, or we can do like a small group if they want to come with 2 or 3 of their buddies, or they can ask their school, if they go to a DOE school, or even if they don't, just ask their school to get in touch with us, and potentially we can work with the school, and the services can be provided to them via a class for free.
All right. Okay. Just check that I put that right in the chat. I think I have it right, if you can see it.
Yes, you just need an I in between the T and the N. Platinum.
Yeah, it'd be helpful if I could spell.
Is there a way I can write?
I don't think so. I don't know why that is the case with this interface, but okay, I think I got it this time.
Yep.
So, cool.
Correct.
So there is a chance that you can set them up for free classes or for some way of accessing your classes. So,
absolutely.
So as an entrepreneur, I have to go to the question, like, how did you create these materials?
So that's really leveraging our tutor base. So our tutor base, combined with former educators, combined with leveraging material that's already out there. So we will leverage things. We're not trying to recreate the wheel necessarily.
Sure.
So we will leverage things like Khan Academy, Kaplan, Princeton Review books. And that's actually what I was going to recommend for folks that might not be able to get it in their school and can't afford the services for one-on-one. They should just go to Amazon.com and look up these books and start preparing from as early as they want to prepare.
Cool.
So if their child is in the 3rd grade or 4th grade or 5th grade, they want to get up on SHSAT, figure out what that is, start by ordering a book for $20 on Amazon.
Yep. Cool. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, as a budding entrepreneur, I'd say more than budding. You're doing it with two
Well,
companies.
budding serial entrepreneur.
Right.
I'll accept entrepreneur title
Okay.
now.
All right. Good. Good. What do you like doing the best?
Yeah, so I like a variety of aspects of the I guess job that I do. One is the direct impact. So actually seeing the students go from A to B to C and beyond, really having those light bulb moments.
Mhm.
But I also love, just building things. So building Platinum Edge from a company of one to now a company of many. I'm not sure how many do we have now? Probably like four-ish. We're working on hiring and building for this new year. Um, but yeah, just kind of like creating, company culture and really, also get directly getting to impact folks through just providing them jobs.
Mhm. Yep.
That's also
Yep.
really valuable and something that I want to continue
Mhm.
throughout my career.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something I also really enjoy. So,
Yeah.
so my last question, which is I didn't prepare you for, but and I don't always ask, is we've had quite a wild couple of years in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
What has really helped you move forward through these difficult years?
Mm. Um, I would say community. Really, trying to build the community and maintain the community um, that I already have.
Hmm.
So even during the pandemic, I mean, we had a lot of conversations during the pandemic, me, you, and Kim.
Right. So
Even that,
just so our audience knows, Christian and I met at a funny moment in the pandemic
yeah,
because the DOE, in their infinite wisdom, decided to stop paying all vendors for about, well, for me, for about 2 or 3 months. And it was literally like March through June of 2020. And the amount they owed for me was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm trying to meet payroll. I'm trying to do the best for my people. And I was like, wait a minute, what's happening with other vendors? So
hmm
Christian was one of these vendors. And the irony of the story is I got paid. And then maybe 4 months later or 6 months later, I get this phone call from Christian. And he's like, did you ever get paid? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I didn't. And I'm like, oh my God. And I somehow the Jewish mom, grandmother thing. So I was able to connect Christian to people who were able to pay him at that point.
yes. Thank
And
you so much.
no, I'm not saying it, but it made me aware that there is need in someone's life to help vendors with the DOE,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we are in a wild ride at times.
yeah,
But what then uh, evolved from that is I realized, all us people running small businesses could really use support right now. So
yeah,
Christian and I and one other small business owner started a weekly support group, and that was cool. And
yeah.
we kind of want to revive it once every
We
6.
should.
Yeah,
We
we feel
should. As you were talking, that's probably actually level two, like the next level, because it's not sustainable. How certain business owners are, excluded like that. Not being able to meet payroll can obviously kill a company.
yep.
And if you look at the kinds of companies that are affected by this, it is the super small business owner.
Which is
Um,
over 50% of the companies in the country. So,
right,
uh,
right.
it,
And they tend to be MWBEs as well.
right, which
You
we
know,
both are. For those who don't, minority, I'm women-owned business.
yep.
Christians,
Minority women owned business enterprise.
right? So, um, yeah, these things affect us very, very hard.
Yeah.
Um,
And so that equity and access thing, like level one is the students that we serve.
yep,
Level two is us, like the entrepreneurs. Like
yep,
I want to get to a point where now I'm like helping entrepreneurs who
yes,
are facing the same difficulties and the same barriers,
yes,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, and I think we both enjoy that. I've been in this now for, well, my son is 24, for 24 years. And so Christian is in it a little newer. And I was able to say, hey, this is a good person who might help you. And so I think we both enjoy continuing other entrepreneurs to be able to do good work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are just out of time. Do you have any other things you would like to say to our audience about your work?
Well, yeah, just feel free to contact us, info@platinumedgetutoring.com. The other company's Creative Connections, also info@creativeconnections.nyc. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing to impact schools, impact people, families, communities. And yeah, just looking forward to, continuing to grow and build together.
Cool. I think you should come back in about 6 months. And,
Okay.
it's the first year that you've owned 2 companies.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear how it's all going. Along with Christian didn't talk about this. He's also an aspiring author. He has work in real estate. So he's like a spider with lots of different tools going on. So
I'll take that as a compliment.
oh, I meant it as one.
No, I
Totally
know.
meant it as one.
I know.
So for those of you interested in our classes, remember that this is Laura, the CEO of RoboFun, and we're at 102nd and Broadway. We've got lots and lots of things coming this fall. We have classes every afternoon of the week. We run birthday parties. We have an open house on the 25th. And thank you for joining our Heart to Heart this week. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you, Christian. It's been
Thank you.
really fantastic conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.